All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 4 of the DIY series on the shed upgrades for solar. Let's go ahead inside, take a closer look. It's all done. Can't wait to show you. All right, guys, in the shed now. Here's the first look at the completed system. I just added a few more components this past weekend, and this has been like a project car. I've been working on it here and there. For the most part, this system has been up and running since the middle of the summer. We powered our pool and new pool heat pump, and it worked fantastic. I did have to bring some additional solar in, but we'll take a look at that in a little bit. Now, the goal of today's video is to give you a general overview of the system, look at the individual components as well as the signal flow, and show you how it all works from the solar outside all the way into here into powering devices. All right, guys, before we go any further in the video, I think it's important to take a look at what we were using before in the off-grid shed. Here's a photograph of the previous system. This was a 24-volt system for battery and solar. It ran off a MPP LV2424 inverter, 120-volt AC output, about 3,000 watts total. Now, with the new system, we've gone from 120-volt AC output to 240-volt output with the new EG4 6000 XP. This is a 48-volt system. In reality, it's really 51.2 volts nominal. So I originally started off with individual lithium iron phosphate cells. I decided to bring more cells in to complete the battery and the project. We'll also go ahead and take a look at the gutter or the raceway here, open that up and show you all the wiring. Let's go ahead now and take a look at some of the individual components in the system. We'll start off with the AC sub panel. This is the feed in to the house. I go ahead and split it with a quad breaker, sending power both to the inverter and to a transfer switch. Above it, we have a midnight solar lightning arrestor. This helps to protect the overall AC input. Moving on, we have a load center. This load center is for powering all the devices inside and outside of the shed with individual breakers. Breaker for inside the shed, outlets outside, pool pump, and then the pool heat pump. Moving down, we have a transfer switch. I really like the transfer switch because it gives me options on how I want to power the load center. 99% of the time here, this transfer switch is going to stay in the down position because we're feeding power from the EG4 6000 XP to the load center. But let's say we want to take the inverter offline, we want to work on things, we just want to run off the house circuit or AC power from that feed from the sub panel. All I have to do is switch it up, and now we're running off house power. But again, we want to keep this in the down position because we want to run off the EG4 6000 XP or the off-grid power. Here's the EG4 6000 XP. I couldn't be more happier with this inverter. Lots of functions, lots of features here. Inputs, outputs. It's been running rock solid for a couple months now. Our solar disconnect. So I have two circuits here. One for the roof and one for the ground array. We'll take a look at those arrays in a little bit. That comes in. Just a disconnect there so I can turn that off again if I need to work on that line into the inverter. And then the gutter down here, everything looks really clean and professional. Also want to show you some of the DC wiring here. Positive bus bar, negative bus bar, okay? And then I have two battery switches. Because these are DIY batteries, they don't have breakers or switches on them. So I wired them in line. I really like these switches. They show you the voltage, and they're pretty close. One bank is always a little off from the other one. It just happens. I think it's because they're different sizes and capacity. A lot of the stuff I reincorporated, like I had these all in my old system there, so I repurposed those. Also, behind the battery bank, we have a pass-through box, and off that I have an outlet I just installed. Again, I repurposed that outlet from the previous system. Alright, so here's the inside of the Wireway. There's a lot of extra wire in here because I have a couple additional feeds here. I'm sending number 8 out to hopefully power the hot tub next year. Also have a couple extra 12 gauge runs. I think I talked about some of those extra circuits in the previous video. Got a Raspberry Pi here. It's powering Solar Assistant, and I'm using a buck converter. I have additional lines you can see right there. It's coming up to a buck converter back there. I got my fuse in here. I believe that's 175 amp fuse, class T. I also have Victron Smart Shunt here. The Raspberry Pi is actually connecting to the EG4 6000 XP, but I can also connect it to the Smart Shunt here. So there's multiple ways I can monitor batteries, the system parameters, both through the Solar Assistant with the Raspberry Pi, which I'm really a fan of, and I also have the Smart Shunt here. And then all my DC wires here. I'm using 4-aught. That's coming from the bus bars here. Everything else going to the batteries is 2-aught, and then it combines, and then 4-aught going up, and that eventually works its way up here through this 1.25" steel pipe. All my fittings here, EMT conduit, either stainless steel or just a regular steel, depending on what they had at Lowe's and so forth. Again, real professional look there. I also use loops in my wiring. I'm a fan of using loops because I always have extra to pull. So if I need to pull more wire, I have a loop here, and I have plenty there. So here's the inside of the battery case, and yes, there's capacity on one shelf for more storage. And I have 2 sets of DIY batteries. So the middle shelf, on paper, they're 230 amp hour cells, 16, and they're powered by a JK BMS. This is a version 15. Upon testing, I got around 235 to 240 amp hours for the cells for each cell. And on the bottom here, we have 280 amp cells, again 16 JK BMS, and these are the inverter BMSs, by the way. This is the version 19, so this is the latest BMS that came out, and they work hand in hand with each other, tied in through the interface here. Each BMS has that, and so they connect to each other, and this is the master BMS down here. So that orange line goes back to the EG4 6000 XP, communicates with the inverter. The other line here goes up to this BMS right here, so they can talk to each other. And then I have class T fuses on each battery pack there. I got a Wi-Fi temperature monitor in there, so I can monitor temperature, especially when it gets colder. Little buck converter here to power that monitor right off the battery itself. As I said before, I started with DIY batteries, so I wanted to finish the project. It only made sense to keep it going this way. Now, if you're in the market for new batteries, I have a couple of recommendations. If you're looking for individual cells, I also recommend heading over to batteryhookup.com. This is a great outfit out of Pennsylvania. I've used them many times, and most of my lithium iron phosphate individual cells have come from Battery Hookup. If you're looking for a plug-and-play option, I would definitely recommend batteries from Signature Solar. They have many options, including rack and wall-mounted batteries. Signature Solar offers excellent customer service, and they can help you with your next project. Definitely check out the links below in the video description for discounts to both companies. By using these affiliate links, you help to support and grow this channel. All right, guys, so that's the inside for the new system. Let's go outside now. I'll show you some of the components out there. All right, so I did a previous video on the new heat pump for the pool. I showed some of this. I hooked up a temporary array here, 6 panels. I got these panels, 24 of these panels for $250 total. Great deal. Whenever you can buy used panels, I say go for it. If they're in good shape, you can save a lot of money. Plus I have more panels, 6 panels on the roof. About 1900 watts up there, 1920, and down here I think these are 310s, so they're just over 1800 watts. Next spring I plan to install these panels along with more over in that corner. And that'll be the spring project, installing new panels. And I'm looking at a minimum of 5 kilowatts in solar to run everything I need here on the shed, the pool, and the heat pump. Also thinking about either powering our hot tub or our EV. If we do the hot tub, then I'll probably have to bring in a second 6000 XB to power that. If I just want to keep it simple, maybe we don't do the hot tub and we just power an EV off a smaller charger. All right, on the back side of the shed now, I want to show you a few more components. Have a disconnect box here with a midnight breaker. I can take that off and show you. While I'm doing that, I'll show you the lightning arrestor, midnight solar, 300 volt DC. Works really well for the roof and ground solar arrays. And this is just pretty simple. This is not a combiner, just a simple disconnect. I really like these breakers. I know they rate well, and I know they're safe. And if I disconnect it on our load, I know it's going to break. I know it's going to do what it's supposed to do and break that current. So very pleased with that. Pull box here, all my wiring, it comes in and out of the shed through my ground wiring. In a previous video shows that it all passes through here before it goes into an inside pull box. 20 amp circuit right there, new circuit. Pretty psyched for that, especially when Christmas rolls around. I don't have to run extension cords anymore. Just come off there. Here's the back side of the temporary array. You can see I braced up the fence a little bit there just to help out. This will come down when the snow starts flying. Did all the grounding there, ran the ground to each panel with lugs, and then tied it back into ground rod down there. Got a disconnect over here. That's worked pretty well for turning it off when I need to, but for the most part stayed on all summer. All right guys, coming to the end of the video now. This has been an overview of the new solar. Very happy with the system. It's come together quite nicely. It took a while. I took my time with things, but again, I'm very pleased and happy with the results. So done for this year. Next spring, I'll go ahead and install the solar permanently in the field, and we'll have a fully operational system. But for now, I'm going to run some temporary solar and use the roof array, and that should satisfy our needs for power throughout the rest of the year. All right guys, I want to thank you for watching. If this video was helpful, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, come on back for more videos. Take care and have a great day.